Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Rebirth, a D&D Tale. Last we left off, our party of adventurers, the Lucky Sevens, had been investigating a few of the disturbances going around the city, but primarily shopping around for a mode of transportation that will take them just about anywhere in the world. That mode of transportation that they decided on was an airship docked in the airport of the city, one of the highest points of the city, where the these ships, still very much shaped like ships, were held in place and kept aloft and very much kind of saw an influx of people, goods, things like that coming from these ships. And one happened to be for sale. It was rather bare bones when they first saw it, but have since put in orders for extra protection in the form of weaponry and reinforcements of the outer hull. Each of them will be trained in the basics of being able to fly the vessel, but it is still under construction for the add-ons that they wanted to put in place. And so, that does mean that the Lucky Sevens have a bit of time to spend in Diamond City. Professor Cypher and Selter are still on the mend. Selter has woken up, but is still very much in a weakened state, but that doesn't seem to have much of an effect on her spirited attitude, as she can't wait to be back to her full faculties. Being this small is not her truest state, is how she'll put it nicely. But with herself and Cypher on the mend and doing their part to further investigate their own mishaps as to what happened with Caleb, and perhaps pursuing a trail if they can find one. But that does also leave the Lucky Sevens to tend to some of their own things. Arya, Lagon, and Kaz have decided to make themselves useful in the construction of the add-ons for the airship in whatever means they feel they can, which does leave Kinwin, Alira, and Vanya to do what they will. And Alira had been meaning to get back in touch with an investigation that she had originally started before the crashing of Selter and Cypher and the ordering of a new airship for themselves. Having previously discussed with a gravekeeper who seemed to be friendly with a local noble, had discussed that noble had been murdered. And while his body had been exhumed again for investigation, he is now finally resting. For good, this time. And so, that is more or less where we find the three. Is perhaps in discussion of what it is that Alira has found about this particular noble, and and has in her own way sort of gotten in good with the local authorities to be able to pursue this on her own as well, as a sort of private investigator. She is free to ask questions. She is free to gain the cooperation of whomever might help. And if there is new evidence that should be brought to light, she will be paid for her time. So, our 3 members of the Lucky Sevens, what do you do? Zephyr is with you,
Yeah.
obviously, as well.
Oh yeah. Such a good puppy. Well, if Alira is wanting to continue her investigation into this, Vanya would be all too happy to help.
Absolutely. It's best to end up following the strands of the web to see where they lead, where it's anchored, and what it ultimately is hanging over. To walk its lines is to understand it as a whole. And I would certainly invite aid. Vanya is certainly more fluent in the local customs and language than I. And Kinwin understands the surface there far better. Their aid would certainly be appreciated.
Of course.
The relationship you have with some of the authorities in this particular city might be a little rough along the edges, but they're not incredibly wary of you, Alira. They simply just don't know what to make of you. Your manner of speaking, your mannerisms, the way that you hold yourself, the way that you're dressed even, all of it seems a little bit strange to all of them. Do occasionally get stares from onlookers that travel through the streets, as most of the uh, residents of Diamond City are human and Goliath. There's a smattering of other individual races, but none look like you, and all of them seem to be dressed in these sort of traditional sort of giantkin wear that you've been seeing around the rest of the country, plaids and patterns of lines and uh, crests and all sorts of house devotion and all sorts of all manner of different colors and color combinations that might even seem a little bit gaudy to your uh, to your uh, to your eyes so used to dark colors. A lot of them so vibrant.
It is an odd thing. Many of them not even made of silk, despite still being a fabric. I am here currently heading off to well, that would be the question. Do I have any leads from my previous time investigating, or is there any particular check that you would like for me to end up beginning to end up seeing what kind of leads we may end up being able to follow along with?
So this is going to be part of your downtime. So I do expect that you'll have had enough time to get some basic understanding with around the authorities, but let's see how much more they'd be willing to help you with. So go ahead and give me a persuasion check.
Anybody want to end up helping me on that one?
Yeah, you're gonna get a bardic inspiration.
Okay.
Bardic inspiration it is.
And that's a D6?
Yep.
First roll of a new set of dice.
Let's go.
Hey, we're above a 10. We got a 13 and a 4, and my character sheet is loading slow.
That's a 17 minimum.
Yeah, 17 is 17, and persuasion is neutral, so 17.
17. That's not bad at all. Especially given the sort of cultural differences that may be coming across that might put them off, and some of it might put you off. But you have a sort of mutual want for the truth between yourself and the authorities. And at this moment, they'll take any kind of help that they can get because over the time that you have been sort of getting to know some of the individual guards, but also some of those who are investigators at the local guard barracks, you do find that another noble has been murdered, and you have been asked along to aid in the investigation as well. That any insight that you might have as a private investigator without any sort of ties to this city, maybe an outside perspective, might be helpful in catching the culprit this time around.
One can only hope.
Okay. So you have the option to either, which you want to do first. Do you want to investigate the body, or do you want to investigate the scene?
I will investigate the body first.
The body first. Okay. Is everyone else following along, or?
Yeah, follow along.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So you all follow Alira to the... For all intents and purposes, it would be considered the morgue of a hospital, but it is a little lackluster in the way of the sort of things that you think might be here. So there are a couple of bodies that have also been investigated as well, a little bit older than the one that you have, and probably not even related to the case and to the case that you're on at all. It seems like there is one sort of slouched Goliath individual, his big sort of meaty hands, kind of working very meticulously though on the suturing of a body he was finishing up with before moving on to the one that had been recently brought in. So he's got this this sort of mask to protect his face. He's wearing it seems like the most unappealing sort of clothing that could be even called clothing right now, because it's in tatters and really not sanitary by any stretch. It's got bloodstains everywhere, including some fresh little bits of viscera kind of hanging off of it as well. This particular morgue is not exactly the most well upkept.
And I very much doubt Alira has seen such a place. Normally with her, the bodies are found out in the wild, already being reclaimed to the soil.
Indeed.
So this is definitely an alien portion, as she kind of looks to Vanya. Do we inspect the body, or are they performing a sacred rite? The large individual seems to be... The giantkin seems to be...
He is doing his own investigation. It coincides with the authorities' investigation.
You do also see that there is a pendant, like a sun pendant, around his neck as well, that just kind of, as he's kind of hunched over, it kind of jingles on a chain. You do hear him slightly mutter some words occasionally, and it come to a brief point of light, and then just quickly die down after a certain moment.
With maybe a small ritual here or there to...
Practitioner of the local god Palor.
Yes.
Fascinating.
And Vanya's gonna step a little closer. Excuse me, sir.
What do you want? I'm busy.
We were sent to help with the investigation of the recent murder. If there's anything you can tell us so far.
Well, if there was anything I could tell you about it right now, because I haven't gotten to it yet. He's trying not to look agitated as you've interrupted him during a specific stitch on a suture, and he's kind of muttering to himself a little bit because he has to go back through and kind of do it over again.
Is there perhaps anything we can do to help?
Stay out of the way for the moment. If you want to investigate that one, he kind of once he's got this the thread tied, he points over to looks like a young adult male that's lying on one of the other tables. He's that one over there, if you care, and just don't touch anything yet, please.
Very well. And she'll go over and, without touching the body, making sure it's obvious to him that she's not touching anything, she's going to give it a good look over, see any kind of certain wounds on it, any other... Excuse you?
Probably the most obvious thing that you will see that has happened to this individual is that there are stab wounds, several of them, but one particularly that you think may have added to or been the killing blow, as it does seem to pierce through the heart, through the front of through the rib cage, this exit wound. So that's probably the most obvious thing that you see. But go ahead and make a medicine check to see if there's anything else you can determine. That's probably the most obvious thing that you see.
21.
21? Okay. Over his body, you do also see that there is some bruising, that it looks like he was beaten some before he was stabbed. The wounds are still very much red, and this person died shortly after these wounds were created. And so you look at the individual, and he's probably moderately handsome. You would imagine that if someone were to go after him because of his looks, he probably wouldn't be that sort of target. But you look at his effects that have already been collected from him, and you do see some of the typical things, like a signet ring from his family house. You do see kind of in the corner a collection of his clothing, which have some of those same patterns. The reason that you know he's fairly young is because he does look like he is a Goliath, but he is also a bit a bit shorter than Lagon, and Lagon's a fairly young man himself, and so you get the idea that this particular individual is maybe late teens. If you wanted to, as far as maturity, obviously all of the different peoples of the world age at different rates, but you get the sense that he's just beyond adolescence and going into adulthood.
Is there anything else around him aside from the signet ring that would maybe give us a name?
Not a name, but as far as the as far as the signet ring shows, as far as you're familiar with at this point, because you've been here for a couple of weeks now, he's a member of one of the minor families in this city, and his family is a fairly notable farming family, where they have several farms to their name. Also, kind of known for their wines, actually, where their fields are filled with grapes, and there's a winery attached, and that's kind of how they've made their name in the city. And so in the immediate area, this wine is rather a local favorite, but it's not nearly as big as maybe the whole country. It's probably just to this city, really. And so maybe that's something they'll expand to in the future, but right now they're staying pretty local.
With that, she'll go back around to Alira and relay all this back to her, which she'd seen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Alira, Vanya tells you of the things that she discovered about the wounds and the effects that he came in with.
What could possibly be the cause of such an effect? It doesn't. She just looks at the body and immediately. Observing my own autopsy would be a medicine check, correct?
Yes, you can also make a medicine check if you'd like.
Holy, okay, I'm liking these dice.
Have they turned into the macabre dice? Maybe.
No, that's a 17 plus 9, so hey,
Nice.
26.
26. That's pretty good.
It makes sense. I mean, she not only understands the human body, but its rate of decomposition and what have you, so it makes her fairly apt in this regard.
Yep. And you're in your expert opinion, Alira, the wounds that you see just by observing with your eyes, the wounds that this person sustained from the stabbings were from a dagger or some kind of shorter sword. From what you
serrated, like the others.
Serrated like the others, kind of ripping at the flesh, but still very short. The wounds that you see that caused the bruising were done maybe with a blunt weapon, maybe fisticuffs. You do see that that this person has very little in the way of blood left in them. They must have bled out on the street, and so they would not have survived the travel to this institution anyway.
Given the two major groups in Diamond City are Goliaths and humans, and you said that it potentially is with fists. Would I happen to end up catching the size of the fist?
Yeah, with that roll, you would, you would know that the size of the fist would be more along the size of, a standard humanoid like yourself, like a Lyra, like a human. A Goliath did not attack this person. In fact, um, with the fact that this person that is dead is about the size of a human, perhaps someone their age, or an adult humanoid of maybe humans or elves or something to that effect. Someone similar in size killed them.
We see here the blade was inserted. The killer was about the same height, physically capable. Rules out one of the giant kin. Though the blade itself is distinct. And the very same one that was used in a previous murder. The weapon is unique. More meant to saw into flesh than slice. Meant to make terrible wounds. The bleed out. Sorry. Bleed out. Kinwin, what do you make of it?
What was that?
We know that the weapon used was a serrated blade. Not much longer than a dagger, perhaps even shorter. The culprit is about your height. Strong enough to end up overpowering the victim. Now, Coffee, correct me if I'm wrong, but the injuries are coming from the front. This isn't just like stabbing in the back from an unknown.
No, this was from the back.
This was from the back. Okay, so
Much the same as the
Can I
last
make
one.
a religion roll to see if I can identify any practices of secret cults here?
Based on what Vanya's told you about the personal effects on the person, nothing of any kind of religious notation is present in the items that they were owning.
Well, yeah, I was more thinking about all of the murders.
There is a pattern to follow. There have been several murders like this in the last few months, following the same sort of style. So it's a logical conclusion. There might be some kind of pattern to it as far as motive, or maybe they just like the thrill. It's hard to know until you catch the killer, but
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
it's true. Kind of musing like that out loud.
gives us an idea at least
So
on what we're
I'd
looking
still
for.
like to make that religion roll to just see if I can identify any cult things that might have been here.
As far as deducing that from his injuries,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
uh,
how they were killed and stuff.
to determine if it was kind of a ritualistic fashion. Okay. Um,
Or just like some random murder or some a deal gone wrong.
I would say that would be more of a religion check, more like a medicine check, except I will allow you to roll it with intelligence instead of wisdom. Do you roll a d20, add your intelligence, and then add your proficiency modifier if you're proficient in medicine.
For the medicine, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're proficient in medicine,
You said wisdom modifier?
no, with
Or
your
the other
intelligence.
intelligence? 15, 17, medicine, 1, 2, 3, 25.
Let me actually, so let me actually look at your sheet here. Okay. So you're okay. Okay. So it was you said it was 15 plus 2 is 17 plus 4 for your proficiency, so that would be 21. So, yeah, based on what you see, when it comes to what you might know about cult-like behavior, I mean, obviously there's, when it comes to like different cults of different things, you're always going to have the speculation, oh, they make sacrifices, oh, they kill, random people in the street, you hear all these sort of fearful sort of rumors going around, and maybe some of it's true and maybe some of it isn't. But as far as any particular residual magic or anything of that sort that might make this seem a little bit more ritualistic in nature, it's hard to determine from just the wounds. There's no residual magic left behind, that's for sure. But the fact that this person is using the same weapon in the same fashion against similar people, there is a pattern. It just might not be cult related. But that part is inconclusive. You don't have any conclusive evidence toward it or against it, really.
It was worth a shot.
The hunch Goliath that you saw before, that was stitching up another corpse to possibly be moved somewhere else for their burial rites and things, does kind of go over to a wash basin and wash his hands, and come over towards you all, sort of almost making the washing of his hands a little bit useless in the fact that he kind of dries his hands on his very dirty sort of haphazard clothing. But he's coming over to you all, and just kind of he lifts up his mask and kind of looks at you all and says, "Well, what you think?"
Definitely curious.
A nice mask.
Thanks. I made it myself. So, tell me what you think about what happened to good old Golthak here.
Wow.
I'm investigating to find no signs of a ritual murder, so, maybe this was a robbery or deal gone
No.
wrong.
No, that would be a foolish assumption.
Hmm.
The blade's distinct. The same used in previous murders. A serrated blade, no longer than a dagger, perhaps shorter. The victim was taken from behind. If one were to simply call it a robbery, it wouldn't be a weapon that is used to tear wounds open, make them harder to hold closed. No, murder was the intent. If anything was missing, that would simply be a bonus.
Well, I
They came
did see
from
a coin
behind.
purse had been ripped from his belt, so at least they walked away with something.
The blade was inserted by someone of roughly equal height. The individual's cautious, cunning, trying to keep their appearance unknown, their target unknown to them. Pardon. Their target unknown to who was stalking them. The result was a wound that ended up causing them to bleed out. The bruises afterwards, I imagine it was a scuffle. The bruising indicate a humanoid of roughly equal proportion. Anything else I've missed, Vanya?
No, I do believe you got it up.
And I bet you're wondering why they brought a well-known wine-making family. One of the prim and proper to my little establishment now, don't you?
Yes, that is something that's quite curious.
Well, it happened to be the most local, but sometimes you pay a pretty penny for someone to investigate into someone else's death, and well, we kind of want to keep this on the hush hush. See, he's an heir. The heir. Well, was. The heir to the vineyard. And now our vineyard family is heirless. You can imagine how people would want to keep that quiet.
Yeah, imagine so.
So since you've been assigned to help me with that, I expect that sort of that you'll be quiet about this your investigation, right?
Of course.
Lyra just kind of looks at Vanya like, did you really just say that? Like, discretion is even in your vocabulary.
She is more or less ignoring Lyra's look.
Well, that's about as much as I picked up on my initial investigation myself. I don't know that there's much of a need for a thorough investigation to find out how this kid died. But as per the family's request, I will be doing so here shortly. You're free to watch, just don't get in my way.
I think at this point, we've seen all we need. Thank you very much for your patience. Prepare to watch over you in your sacred work.
I just make sure that the bodies don't get up and walk again, as I've heard rumors about.
We haven't found evidence of such just yet. Any suspicions we have would be just that. But best not to make assumptions.
They've done so other places. Better safe than sorry.
Of course.
Wouldn't want our dearly departed to be disturbed now, would we?
I think it's best we move on and check out the scene.
Better get there fast. Our cleanup crews will probably be very, very quickly on that. And
I believe that's about the direction they're going to be heading.
All right. So is everyone heading to the scene of the crime then? All right. And when you get there, the scene is kind of cordoned off for individuals not to disturb the scene as it is. You do see that there are some individuals who look like they're cleaning up the street a little bit, to give you an idea of how things are going, but based on what you can see from just beyond the sort of line that the guards have drawn, you see that a great deal of blood had been lost and spilled here. There is evidence of a scuffle, of some things like a couple crates and a couple bags of goods just kind of broken in the because this is more of an alleyway that you're looking down into. That it would be a good place, even in broad daylight, to have murdered someone. It kind of looks like the kind of place where you could pounce on this person from anywhere and catch them off guard. But based on the wounds that you saw, this person was at ground level with the victim, and so they didn't pounce in from anywhere and attack. They made sure that if they did, they were firmly planted on their own feet before attacking. But there are crates and barrels and bags that are kind of broken in places, kind of bits and pieces of wood, sort of scattered all along the ground. Which you would have seen some evidence of in the wounds of the victim as well. That their their leg had banged up against one of these crates and had some splinters in it, and that sort of thing. So you did see evidence that that was the case too, along with the beating on them too. So. But whoever it was were clever enough maybe to not get their feet all that bloody, because there's not really there's a small trail of footfalls that run away from the scene, but by the time they get to like where the guards have stations, the footfalls kind of disappear. Unless you're clever, or you know how to find specific footprints in the foot traffic of a city.
Well, I could certainly attempt it.
Right.
It's a very high difficulty.
I could presume some assistance, but we'll give it a shot.
You'll get assistance from Vanya. Bardic
Okay,
inspiration.
let's hope I can roll this.
Okay. It's going to be an investigation check.
30 even.
Whew! Whew! Whew!
15 plus 6 plus 9.
Nice.
So maybe it's a good thing that the streets of this particular city are made of either cobblestone or well-packed dirt. In that you, Alira, are very familiar with how footfalls and footprints on stone come about. You've tracked down a missing person from time to time in your day when it came to your people, when it came to your city. And the occasional person going off and disappearing to perhaps fall victim to a monster's nest is not unheard of. And so tracking them down to find out what happened to them and finding their remains all but picked apart, well, that's been your job a couple of times. So, while the alleyway, they do tend to disappear a little, but you find also very small droplets of blood. That maybe the footprints of this person got lost in the kerfuffle of the streets and the foot traffic there. But this murderer was injured, or at least something dripped for a good 150 feet away from the crime scene. Sporadic, uneven.
Perhaps the blood from the serrated blade, an effect of the tool used.
Maybe they thought they cleaned it well enough while they were still hovering over the body, but it left something behind. Something, whether it's the victim's blood or whether it's an injury from the attacker. It's hard to say for the moment, but you do find that.
I should maybe try to track it.
Could I perhaps have Zephyr track the blood?
Ooh, that is a good idea. He is a dog.
He is a dog.
He is dog. Roll a perception check for Zephyr. Let's see if he can, when picking up on the scent of it, once you've pointed it out, if he can follow it.
Our proficiency in survival can help the dog.
No, you only need to worry. Because this is based on smell, he's already got
advantage. Because he's a wolf. But,
I swear to God, I'm gonna switch over to Zephyr's dice for Vanya. That's a nat 20.
Woo! Woo-hoo! Zephyr, you smart boy. So Lyra, Kinwin, and Vanya, while you might visibly lose track of the blood scent that is dripped as it does stop about like I said, about 150 feet away from the crime scene. The Zephyr, when asked, he does give the area a good sniff, and does look like he's picked up the scent, because he's been your hunting dog, Vanya, for quite some time too. He's helped you on a lot of hunts, and so he picks up on the scent of the blood and kind of takes off down the street at a pace that you'd be able to follow. But he is on four legs, so he is a very fast boy.
And in that case, I would be using Hunter's Mark to kind of keep track of him in case we do lose sight of him occasionally.
Okay. Perfect. So you do have Hunter's Mark on him so that you can keep track of him. Because he gets a little excited, starts to run. And so it's very smart that you get that going on him. But you eventually catch up with him, and he's sitting in front of what looks like a typical sort of slum house, where the houses in this particular region of the city are a little haphazardly put together, much like the slums that you saw in Combe. Maybe made of stronger materials like stone and wood versus pieced together different things from the desert and in Combe, but it seems that he's found the building where this scent stops. He looks up at you, like very excited, like he's earned a treat or something.
And she'll give him a small piece of meat as a treat, because he did a good job.
He's definitely very excited to chomp down on that. But you come to this building, and it's got a door on one side of the house, and looks like a basement entry on the bottom level of it. It looks like there's stairs kind of going into a basement level. And Zephyr's kind of waiting at the stairs to the basement level.
Okay.
The door is shut, and it does look like there is somebody home.
Lyra, how would you like to handle this? Since the trail stops here.
I think it would be for the best for us to try and end up approaching this amicably. I shall investigate. All I need for you is to have them open the door. So at that point, I lean up against the door frame and shrink down to something very, very minute. An eight-legged crawling thing. A tiny spider just along the door frame. Probably even partially trying to sneak through the small cracks as trying to end up entering the abode.
Probably about the size of a tarantula, right?
Oh, I go as small as I can. And as far as I understand it, there's very little limit in that regard. But there are certain forms that are just very familiar.
Yes. What about you, Kinwin? What are you going to do? Y'all have found possibly the house, and Alira's shrunk herself into the form of a spider. Vanya looks like she's going to go and knock on this particular abode to see if someone will answer the door.
I guess I'll go with them.
Do what now?
I guess I'll go with them then. See if anyone's at that house.
You're here. Is there something that you're wanting
Yeah.
to do to help them, or is there something you want to do to, in addition to what they're doing? Do you want to also enter the house unexpectedly when somebody opens the door as an animal form yourself?
Well, I think it happened in friendly.
Sorry, you were kind of mumbling. I wasn't sure what you were talking.
Well, saying it happened is friendly.
Hmm. You could be at the door and with Vanya to be another friendly face for this person to greet.
I was just going to do a ding dong ditch maneuver.
I mean, there's that too. I mean, you could tell Kinwin that's your plan.
She'll have Kinwin and Zephyr stand like around the corner and just get ready to knock and run.
A knock and run. Okay.
Yep. I thought about the ways of doing this. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna have a bit of fun with it.
You're gonna be a chaos gremlin. It's fine.
Yes.
Disturbing this poor people's routine with the ding dong ditch. All right. Then, if that's the case, Kinwin, are you looking to join Vanya in that, or are you looking to join Alira in her investigation inside the house? Or you're muted if you're saying something.
Yeah, I was just talking to myself for a second. Yeah, I guess I can go with Alira and transform into a giant wolf spider for the stealth.
Okay. For the, I imagine for the purposes of this, you want to be as small as you can, so even a regular-sized wolf spider would do just fine. So, in that case, you get stomped, you're gonna pop out of your pop out of your animal form, so don't get stomped.
Please don't.
Working on D&D Beyond for wolf spider literally only brings up giant wolf spiders.
That's fine. I'm not even going to penalize
But
you.
I chose them because they are very good at stealth. Stealth plus 7.
Yes, we'll still run with the same mechanics in that case, if it's going to call for that, and I will call for that at that appropriate time. But for the sake of appearances and everything, this being a whole stealth maneuver anyway, you're going to shrink yourself as tiny as possible, and so.
And in prep for this, just in case, because knowing this group, pass without trace on them both.
you pop past without trace.
Knowing our luck.
So we never really have discussed what that looks like for you, Vanya. What do you do when you pass without trace on everyone?
She's just lightly strumming the softest note on her guitar as she is verbally in Elvish saying as quiet as possible.
Because this is a spell that you get from Ranger, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yes. And so... and so the sounds of their footfalls, even though they're very tiny spiders and can't really be heard all that much anyway, are even quieter.
I just know this group and their dice rolls. I do not trust it.
Including your own and Zephyr's. So...
yeah.
You both are very quiet in your footsteps as well. So...
which will help in running away.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed it will. So... For this case, I'm going to make it a Vanya, it is still going to be a stealth check,
Okay.
but because this is more of a ding-dong and ditch sort of a situation, I'm going to make it a charisma-based stealth check for you. The rest are dexterity.
Okay. Math was a thing here.
Yes, for math.
Instead, that's even better. 25.
Okay, 25. And so let's get stealth checks from Zephyr, from Alira, and Kinwin. You both with using spider statistics for your stealth checks, plus 10 for pass without trace.
Uh, 31 for Zephyr.
31 for Zephyr. Okay. Alira?
You said we get an extra 10?
Yep, from pass without trace.
So I got 31 too.
Nice.
Ooh. Okay, not great for me.
Uh-oh.
The first low roll on the new dice.
Uh-oh. And you're using the spider stats for stealth.
Yeah. Which makes that an 8 plus 10 for pass without trace, so 18.
18.
Still not terrible, like, comparatively, but it's the pass without trace that's carrying.
It's really doing a lot of the heavy lifting in this case for you.
Okay, so good news. The dice are weighted to actually roll a mix of numbers, and some of them are actually above 10.
Well, another thing that's also comes out in favor for you all is that Vanya goes and silently counts 1, 2, 3. And as soon as she hits 3, she knocks on the door and runs with Zephyr in a direction. Luckily for Lyra and Kinwin, a person, a sort of small older woman, opens the door to try and greet whoever's at the door, which gives Alira and Kinwin their opportunity to sneak inside the house. And when you enter inside, there are several people in this house. Several people in this very sort of 20 by 20 space. You see that is basically a stove and cots, and that is about it in this particular home. And you see that there are a couple of children and a couple of additional adults alongside this elderly woman. Looks like she walked away from a cooking pot on the stove to answer the door. There's a couple shelves with maybe a couple of food goods on it, from what you can see. But you are in the home, and that is what you see immediately. So what do? Both of you. You muted, Derek.
I'm trying to be polite, and in doing so, interrupting my own sense of play. As I understand this, if I'm picturing this right, it's basically a larger room, probably a single table in front of the cooking fire and a small...
Nope, not even that. It is a 20 by 20 space. As far as feet, there is a stove and there are cots, and 5 individuals in this home. It's very tiny.
That is fascinating. I am going to continue to end up crawling. I'm doing so above the ceiling, and is the only light really coming from the cooking fire?
The cooking fire and the very well, there's not even a window in this particular unit because it's the basement floor.
Fascinating. I am Looking about. I'm looking about for any kind of blades that are about, perhaps, maybe what they're cooking. I'm looking for anything that looks to be something similar.
Okay.
While I'm observing that, I'm obviously small. Takes me a little bit to get around without doing some awkward web slinging, which I'm not about to do to attract attention at this point. I'm simply one of the many things I imagine that crawls around here.
Yep. One of the many things that
So,
crawls around the baseboards. Okay, so you're looking
so
out for the weapon, in specific. Kinwin, what are you looking for? Are you looking to help Alira find the weapon, or are you looking for something different? Because they're...
again, when you might
Is there
remember
anything
that there's
else besides the weapon that we really need to find?
yes, because you might remember that it was hinted at that potentially the individual who was the assailant was wounded in the attack. So one of these individuals may actually be wounded, and if that's the case, that would end up arising suspicion.
So if you want, you...
I'd like to maybe try to just look around to see if I see anything, like incriminating or not. And if not, join Lyra looking for the sword.
Okay, yeah, you can look for the injury that was hinted at on one of the individuals. So you're both going to make a perception check each. And since you're in your animal shapes yourself, you get to use your own perception.
Well, mine's a 20.
I assume not any items, right, while in animal form.
No,
No.
no item.
No, your items are not technically on you at the moment. They're part of you, but they're not technically on you.
We doing an investigation or insight check?
No, perception.
Perception.
Because you're doing a lot of looking around with your little spider
That
eyes.
is an 8 for me.
An 8. Oh, I'm so sorry. So Kenwin, you kind of head towards the individuals who seem to be sitting on the cots and kind of speaking with each other. One of which seems to have already gone to bed. It's kind of early in the evening to do so, but it's not unheard of. You are kind of looking around at the individuals, trying to see if and spot if any of them are injured, or have maybe some blood stains on their clothing, and you're not really seeing anything, not from this angle, and none of them seem to look as if they're in pain or anything from an injury of some kind. So, it's hard to tell. It's just hard to even get an idea on these people right now. Alira, you're looking for the serrated blade. You kind of expect tools like that to be found in a kitchen. Serrated blades are often used for cutting things like stiff bread or things of that sort. As stale bread tends to be a commodity in a lot of cases. It's tough to get through if you don't have the right tool, and so even many taverns will have a small serrated knife to be able to slice through tough crust of bread. And so you do see something small, like very much a very small kitchen tool that has very small serrated edges on it, but nothing like the wounds that you saw on the person that the Gulthok that was murdered. That blade looked at least 3 times as long from the injuries you saw, and at least 5 times as big serrated edges. So you're looking at the weapon that you're looking for is probably about this, like the length of a dagger, and each of the serrades is like there's like maybe 5 in total because they're that far apart from the points. So this
So,
kitchen knife is not going to do it.
implying that the weapon is either stowed away elsewhere outside of the site or is still on the individual.
That is
And if
entirely
it's still-
possible.
Those are the only two options I can think of at this exact moment, though a third may be possible. If that is the case, then would it be possible for me to roll a medicine check to perhaps see if any of them are wounded? After all, there was signs of an altercation. Though I don't think we figured out if the bruising happened before or after.
It was before.
Okay, the bruising
You
happened
confirmed that the
before.
bruising was before. That there was an
Before the
altercation,
stabbing.
and then the victim was stabbed. Yep. That's what you were able to determine at the morgue.
So that might also end up. So I'm looking for bruised and bloody knuckles, or perhaps even another injury that may have caused the attacker to bleed.
Yep.
So I'm just leaving that's a medicine check.
Yep, and it looks like Kinwin was starting to look at the with that same intent, but he seems to not be able to spot anything at the moment. So if you want to get closer, you can do a medicine check, and if you want to get close enough to possibly get squashed, you can do a medicine check, or you can do a perception from a distance.
I will attempt to get closer.
Attempt to get closer.
To do a
Okay.
medicine check.
Roll stealth once more.
It's not
Pass without
great,
trace.
but it's not. Yeah. Oh, right. Pass without trace is still in
Yeah,
effect.
'cause
Pass
that
without
lasts
trace is
an
still
hour.
up. Yep.
Okay, so that would mean a 22.
22. Okay. Still very quiet. Still very much a non-issue when it comes to creepy crawlies on the wall. You're still very much blending into the crevices, the nooks and crannies, maybe even passing the occasional other spider or bug yourself along the way. And so you get closer to the individuals who are sitting on the cot, one of which is laying down already. It looks like they're attempting to sleep. Go ahead and roll your medicine.
Okay, that's much better.
You already hear from the door that this woman is starting to swear under her breath a little that these rapscallion kids are knocking and running on her door again. That she's in the middle of dinner and she might burn something. That she's and the other individuals look like they're about ready to just kind of roll their eyes and say grandma's just being a nut again.
So this is a family.
Yes.
Okay, this isn't like a live-in situation with like individual. Okay.
Yeah,
24.
you assume that that's a family. They all look pretty similar. So, 24. You do. So you're kind of crawling under one of the cots now, having gotten close. You look up at the individual who's lying down, and from what you can tell, you can hear slight winces in pain as they're moving. You do see that their knuckles, a little bit bruised, are kind of bunched up on on the sheet that they've kind of pulled over themselves. But as you kind of look up from underneath the cot, kind of through one of the holes, you do see that they're in a little bit of pain, and you do find the knife under the cot.
Is it along with any other, like the knife's under the cot? Is there any other belongings that they end up having? Because, well, bluntly, I can end up using somebody's backpack as a freaking gymnasium once I crawl inside, so it's no issue there.
Yeah, there's several purses, like little coin purses. There's a full sort of like a knapsack where the rest of their belongings are put in. The It's a little haphazard that this person just kind of tossed it under the bed and didn't want to make any more fuss about it.
And the blade, I can confidently say, is the murder weapon.
It's certainly long enough, and it's only wrapped in a little bit of cloth, and so it doesn't take much effort to undo a little bit of that wrapping and find that it's the right length in the way of the serrades.
I will crawl into the pack to see if I can find any other bits of evidence. So you see coin purses, but is there anything that might tie this over into the... How should I put this? Are there any ways to end up tying this perhaps to either an underground organization or a cult or anything of such, or is this just a lone thief who may have unfortunately ended up running into a situation most foul?
Strangely enough, what you find is that there is a medallion in one of the coin purses. Kind of would otherwise be mistaken for another gold coin, except that it's not made of gold. It is made of another metal that looks like gold, because this person's obviously not well into money, but it is the one-eyed skull.
And this is a purse that they have robbed recently. Or I would presume that they...
Possibly. It's one of several. Could be theirs, it could be somebody else's. It's not really a way to know unless you ask them directly.
Okay. Where's Kinwin at this point?
He's kind of hovering around the, kind of above the rest of the family where you last saw him. Kind of looks like he's still trying to eyeball them all, but may not have been as lucky as you. Poor Kidwin.
I know that pain all too well. As I proceed to crawl out, I think it's at that exact moment where I believe I'm going to end up changing shape once more, while I can catch this individual resting in the cot unawares.
Okay. What are you changing into? Your human form, or are you reverting to another animal?
Oh, same animal. Size disparity, however.
Oh. Okay. So instead of being a rather small, sort of almost subterranean species of spider, you are instead a giant version of this subterranean species of spider. And it is definitely a frightening sight, because those kinds of spiders have incredibly large eyes to be able to see underground. and that is enough to cause any kind of arachnophobe a very, very startled fright.
Mm-hmm.
And you get shrieks from the whole family. Kenwin, you do see that that Alira has changed her shape from the household size to the giant size of her spider form. So you're going to have to spend another of your animal forms. But you have scared them all almost literally shitless. They all seem to be running out of the room, except for the person who is lying down. They're only just sitting up. And
I am going to immediately use web.
casting web.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, can you cast spells?
It's not a cast. It's the natural ability of the giant spider.
Oh, the giant spider's natural ability. Okay.
Yep, it has 2 different actions, bite and web.
Okay. Then I suppose that's a dexterity save. I'm just going to roll 1 dice for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Their average.
It is a +5 attack reach. Target is restrained by webbing as an action. The restrained can make a DC 12 check.
Oh, okay. So it's an
DC
attack roll for this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and make the attack roll. It's not a hard one.
And I'm presuming it's at advantage because kind of caught him unaware.
Yeah.
Okay. That is going to end up being a 19.
Okay, 19's gonna hit this this individual that I'm imagining you're shooting the web at the individual who is lying down.
Absolutely.
Okay, you shoot the web. The web kind of covers the individual. They are restrained as per the ability, and they can't really do much. The rest of the family seems to be attempting to run out the door past all of you. Mm-hmm. There's nobody to block them at the door, so they're all going to, including Grandma, is going to escape.
So as everybody starts to end up running out,
Cooking pots spilled all over the floor now.
It's at that point I proceed to rip this individual, rolling them up in the web and caught as a spider tends to cocoon its prey along with the evidence. And
there are screams coming from the family and from the individual, even though they're muffled. And the person that you're seeing is a rather lithe sort of half-elfin woman.
And it's at this point I start to end up pulling my way through the doorway as I have to end up squeezing through it with my frame in the cocoon of evidence and suspect, offering plenty of distraction for Vanya and Kinwin to be able to escape the scenario or follow along at their own leisure to end up enjoying the spectacle. As honestly, Alira does not end up considering what she's doing, making a spectacle of herself.
This is just a rather useful of an animal shape. This is a rather useful use of an animal shape. That's all she thinks.
Well, this is basically her second skin.
Other people in the street, a lot of them in a similar sort of a state to this family, all seem to scatter as soon as a giant spider comes out of the house, with what seems to look like its meal kind of wrapped up in a web cocoon. Everyone is running, shouting "Monster! Monster!" All sorts of different things to try and get away.
I am proceeding to end up climbing along the walls on the rooftops to get height. I want them scared to struggle out because the fall might end up being an issue. but I am literally scurrying directly towards the crime scene. They always
Okay.
say the criminal returns to the scene of the crime. The part they may have forgot is not always willingly.
So, Kinwin, you were in the house and witnessed this. Vanya, you were outside the house and witnessed this. What do y'all do?
Vanya's gonna follow at a small distance.
I'm sure Vanya
Just-
can figure out or put two and two together. Huh. Small spider go in, big spider come out. I know who that is.
Yep.
Yeah, it seems my investigation here wasn't very well, so I guess I'll just crawl out a window or something and get outside.
You can crawl out the door because the door is perfectly open. You find that that Vanya
Yeah,
is.
but I'm still a spider, so I don't know. Crawling through the window seems more appropriate.
There is no window, so.
Nope.
But
Oh,
yeah, that's fine because it was a basement dwelling anyway. But you catch up with Vanya, whether you shift out of your form or not. Eventually, Alira, you bring the woman and her cot and all of her belongings, it looks like, to the crime scene and the guards seem rather shocked to see a rather giant spider with a individual kind of screaming in their clutches. They start to bare their weapons. Vanya and Kinwin, that's about when you'll enter the scene as well. And it looks like the guards are going to start attacking Alira here shortly. They've got crossbows and bows already pulled out to to fire at her.
Vanya's gonna step forward like, whoa, you don't need to attack her. She's helping. She's with me.
That is a giant spider.
That is a druid. With, I am presuming, the culprit behind the scene. Judging by the size of the...
They're just looking at you rather confused. One of them actually lets off an arrow. So Alira, I'm accidentally making an attack roll at your AC.
Okay. And just to be clear, it's at my AC, not the giant spiders.
No,
right?
the spider's AC.
Okay. 14 natural armor.
Okay, they'll miss.
Okay. It's as soon as that bolt is let loose, Alira proceeds to perhaps throw a little bit of webbing out to end up catching it. And it ends up flying awkwardly and just kind of splats off against the wall behind her as it's thrown off target. She then proceeds to kind of like holding the package now between fangs and forked legs, lowers herself down, like makes herself as small as she physically can without transforming, and just slowly starts to approach in this very low, like trying to end up pretending almost like a tamed animal or something like that, as
In a
she's
surrender, kind of a pose in a way.
yeah.
The guards are rather confused because they see that this is a spider, obviously more intelligent than a typical spider, because it is kind of bowing in a "here is your gift, your majesty" sort of a pose almost. And they've never seen a giant spider that looks like you, nor have they seen a giant spider that acts in this manner. Any giant spider that they've seen have been monstrous and wanting to attack them. So they look over at you, Vanya. You obviously looking like the monster hunter out of all of this, out of all of the commotion, and seem to be lowering their weapons, kind of taking your word for it at the moment. Kinwin, what are you doing since you're here? You've watched as Alira is now presenting her package of the culprit and all of their belongings in a web cocoon to the guards, and you're observing this as well. So, is there something you wanted to do? Oh, I think he lost something. Okay. Is there something you were doing, Kinwin, or some thoughts you wanted to about Alira's shapes and things like that? Any comment or anything?
No.
Okay. They're very befuddled by Alira and the stance that she's taken right now in her spider form. One of the guards looks over and sees that this is a woman in a web cocoon with a smattering of other things kind of wrapped in the cocoon with her. What is this?
We were asked to help investigate the murder that happened here. A couple others recently, and we tracked down, well, we followed a trail straight to, I assume, her, judging by my friend's webbing around her.
By this point, your captured individual has also stopped screaming, and is instead now very quiet and not thrashing about anymore. Much appreciated.
I'm going to lower the thing down. Take one, well, technically 8 steps back.
A pace, yep.
A pace. And my 2 fangs are going to pierce into the webbing. And I am going to pull out a single pouch, and it's specifically the one with the medallion in it. And place it down. My fangs trying to end up scratching it is to imply something important in there before taking a step back.
The it looks like the person who's in charge of this group of guards just is walking up at this point, also hesitant because giant spider, but also realizes that you're kind of goading him into taking this particular coin purse, and very quickly, as if he expects that this is bait, very quickly snatches it away.
I resist the urge to eat him.
Fantastic. And he kind of looks into the purse and uncovers the few coins that are, Ionian gold coins, and then also pulls out the medallion. Oh. And he goes over to the girl and asks her, "Your name?" She says nothing.
I am going to bring my fangs very close, like it's a sudden lunge, just to see if, it's a druid. Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure? Or is this thing just partially domesticated?
The woman flinches a bit in fright, but she still doesn't say anything. The guard then announces, "You are under arrest for heresy." Kind of goes through a bit of a spiel, kind of keeping her in this webbing as much as possible, but also doing what they can to see if they can put actual shackles around her hands, as she already seems to be pretty well bound up, and with there being evidence attached to her too, they just kind of want to claim her and take her away.
Now, because Alira is not from here, but wants to ingratiate herself into the populace, and because I know that my fellow castmates love little shenanigans and little moments like this, as soon as the captain ends up turning around to command the guards to start to take her away, Alira's going to lower her head, butt her head under his legs, and proceed to end up having him balanced on top of her as though he is now riding the giant spider to victory.
Okay, yep, I'll allow it. Let's see if he can keep his balance.
I'll help.
Well, he's gonna need all the help he can get, because he got a 3. So, an advantage. Okay, that's better. That's a 15. So, but I would like you all to make a perception check.
19.
Because there is a commotion starting, actually. But let's see if you hear something.
Math sucks. 30.
Ooh!
7.
Okay, boy.
What do your elf ears hear?
Poor kid.
Tinnitus.
Tinnitus. Oh no. That's so bad. That's okay. I'm sorry, Warden. You always get to such...
Like I said earlier, at least it's on perception.
I at least have dice that are rolling normally.
Can I add the perception skill from the giant wolf spider? That'll up it by 3 more.
Oh yeah, it would be your own perception.
Yeah.
Okay.
You use your mental stats.
Yep, you use your own perception skill. But Vanya, you, being the full-blooded elf that you have and having awesome hearing, apparently, would overhear her say under her breath, as there's starting a commotion going on around the rest of the scene. People have started to gather and cower and just sort of make a lot of ambient noise from the streets. But you overhear her say, "He will rise. He will rise again. And I will be counted among many."
She's gonna go over, take some of the webbing, and shove it in her mouth to silence her.
And now your hand is officially stuck to their mouth.
I'll allow you to just simply remove it. Yep.
Better than allowing her to continue about that nonsense.
Yep. And with the captain on her head, riding on the back of the legs, she is... her walk has changed. Rather than the skittering, the best way I can explain it is almost that prance that a horse does in a marching procession, except very, very proud. Look at the the captain is one of status to be honored.
Oh, funny. How funny. Yep, with this poor girl in the back, too. Oh. Well, with that being said, your culprit apprehended. The silent words she says, and the oohs and ahs of all of the people around. With that being said, we will take a quick break, and when we come back, we will continue on where else this is going to lead us. So, we will be back soon, everyone. Welcome back, everyone, to Rebirth, a D&D Tale. Last we left off, our party of, well, half a party of the Lucky Sevens have apprehended a supposed murderer and have walked them to the local jail to undergo the official arresting of this person, their belongings taken into custody for investigation, and other such documentation to be done to pursue legal action against this person for the crimes they committed of heresy and possible murder and, well, whatever else they might drum up about her. But that does leave our pair with a little bit of extra coin, about 100 gold for your in thanks for apprehending this individual whom they'd been hunting for a little while now, given that that she'd always gotten away. But perhaps thanks to her previous victim being a bit more capable than others in the range of fighting, perhaps that's what led you all to finding her and finally getting justice for the families, the Tomas family and the McLean family, both of whom you have learned the names of the individuals who had been victims of this person's particular crimes. And so that leaves you to do whatever it is you wish to do next. So, pairs, our 3 members of our Lucky Sevens, what are you doing next?
Vanya's gonna go look and see if there's any, like, small jobs they can do time. Unless Alira or Kinlan have any better ideas.
Well, Lyric, Kinwin, what are y'all wanting to do next?
Well, it was nice to help out the towns while we're at there. So, yeah, ring Vanya.
Well, there's apparently a vineyard I need to end up visiting. At the very least, to offer her news of the recently departed and what has transpired. Especially given the fact that the vineyard has lost its sole heir.
I think I'll tag along on that one.
Are you tagging along as well, Kinwin, or are you going elsewhere?
Tagging.
Tagging along?
Yep.
Okay. So the 3 of you are making your way towards the vineyards. The actual vineyard itself is a little outside of town, and so you spend the rest of the, because it was early in the evening before, but gets later into the evening now as you approach the vineyard itself, unless you plan on going on the following day, but you can definitely go over the same day. It's kind of into the evening, which you would assume would be sort of closer to a meal time, and when you arrive at the main house of the vineyard, it's a pretty large house. That's Really well built. Seems to be made of very nice and fine materials. It's even got some vines on the siding of it to give that appearance of a sort of vineyard. Although these particular vines are just ivies, they're not really the kind that would produce grapes. Those are out in the fields, and it looks like whoever's been tending the workers that have been tending to the fields are also coming in from work for the day, kind of wrapping up, some last minute things to tend to, and get to their own little places to stay. Looks like some live on the farm, and some travel to the farm to work. It's a mix of both. It's a mixture of different people who are the farm hands. But you go up to the house, and when you knock on the door, you are greeted by an older gentleman who looks to be a servant. He's dressed. He looks like he's dressed rather nicely. That might be sort of the butler of the house. He asks you, "Yes, may I help you?"
Well, I would expect Vanya to be the one doing the talking, but okay.
You're the one who wanted to come out here.
She's also the one who ended up picking up the captain of the guard and ended up serving as a mighty steed. This might not be the most appropriate, but since shenanigans are on the menu,
They have been all night, by all means.
yes, we're part of the Lucky Sevens, and we've been tasked with investigating a series of unfortunate events, and we come bearing news.
News. Okay, the Lucky Sevens. I think I've heard of you all around town. You're a strange-looking lot, and there's only 3 of you.
Well, can't be everywhere at once.
Oh, well, I suppose that's true. Let me see if the lady and the master of the house would take guests right now. It'd be just one moment.
We come bearing news of the air.
Oh. Oh, then come inside. I apologize. We weren't expecting guests in this trying time.
To be understood. And at this point, she will step aside to allow the other 2 to enter first and enter in last.
Mm-hmm. And when you walk inside, the front entry is kind of this kind of larger foyer. It's this house has several floors. Looks like there's about 3 floors in total. The main floor having you can smell in the air that there's food being cooked. So it looks like the dining hall and the kitchen might be on this floor. It looks like the butler goes up the stairs a little slowly, as he looks like he's a little older in age as far as Goliaths go. He's a little wrinkled around his features, but he goes up the stairs as quickly as he can to go and perhaps go to the quarters or an office to the lady and the master of the house, and he's up there for a little while. He just kind of leaves you to observe in the foyer. So you can do other things, or you could keep your hands to yourself if you want.
I am keeping my hands to myself, as this is not my abode, and
I know that there's a couple out there who would maybe who are not part of the party right now, but there have been members of the party who are a little bit sticky fingered. So just wanted to put that as an opportunity out there for those who want to be sticky fingered.
Thankfully, they're not among us tonight.
No, but eventually the butler does come down with whom you assume to be the master of the house. He's dressed in black, but he's still wearing his family colors in the kilt and tabard that he's kind of got wrapped around his whole body. You see the big family crest kind of holding it all together, and he's this sort of very, very tall Goliath with this sort of the same sort of stripes on his bald head that you would see on Lagon, but less of the dark markings in his face, and more has this sort of very dark sort of marking down his collar, like the whole of his neck, that kind of fades into the sort of black top and jacket that he's wearing, with that he's got on, and he's kind of walking up to you behind the butler, and the butler introduces him. May I introduce you to Master McLean of the McLean family of vineyards. It is a pleasure to meet you. This very sort of stern and tall Goliath man says to you.
Thank you very much. Okay, it is Master McLean. Kinwin Silverwolf, Vanya Stormcrow, Alira Marielle.
Marielle, that's an unusual name.
There's a lot that's unusual of me.
As I can tell.
To be fair, where I come from, you would be regarded as highly unusual in the strongest of senses.
I suppose that's a story for another time. You said you had news.
Bittersweet. I am told that this is to be kept in confidence, so when we arrived with news, I came straight to you.
Thank you.
The body of your heir has been recovered and is currently in good practitioner hands. Prayers to pay Lord near placed upon him as he has passed from this world. We had personally investigated it as we were on the trail of a murderer who has done this before. We managed to track them down. They yet live. The captain of your guard has apprehended them, as we've delivered them. Evidence in tow. It would seem that they have certain leanings to cult that has been forming. I have no doubt you've heard.
It's unsettling. What could they possibly have wanted with him? Pardon the lady of the house, she is in very deep mourning. As she will.
I've no doubt is the master of the house, however stern he may appear. We are all bound by thread. And so your grief is carried by many. The servants of the house, as well as those involved in the investigation. And in that, we can only hope that in that shared grief, that it alleviates it, if not a pittance.
You say that his death was one of several, many.
An unfortunate truth. But he has been brought to justice. A woman, Alvin, had taken his own life. An altercation.
He was always a very strong lad.
I have no doubt he fought bravely.
He was champion at a recent fencing competition. So he ought to. Is the scuffle the reason that you even found this assailant in the first place?
Yes, was. It provided us enough that my companion could track him down.
Good. Good. No one else will fall victim to this. You have done this city a great service. I hope you have been paid well for your service to this city.
No. Nor was it the intent. Where I come from, the loss of a single strand is to be mourned. The act of repairing said strands is arduous. Reward is welcome but not required. This was a matter of duty.
I can understand that. But, at the very least, have dinner with us tonight. In gratitude.
If it is what the master of the house requires, I will attend, but I dare not speak for my companions.
I will stay with my friends. Whatever their choice in the matter is.
And you, Mr. Silverwolf, will you be staying for dinner? Kenwood?
Oh my god, what?
Oh, the master of the house is asking you, will you be staying for dinner? As he's asked Alira and Vanya already.
I would love to. Thank you for the offer.
It is the least I can do. Since you have found my son's killer. So, what... I shall get to know you more over dinner, but what is it that brought you all to Diamond City?
Funnily enough, we were looking for an airship to purchase.
To
Heard that there might have been some here available.
to purchase.
Our the Lucky Sevens near journeys near and far have made them a modicum sum, allowing them to continue their journey unfettered by land travel was required. I hadn't joined them until recently. And to be honest, the idea of boats that swim amongst the clouds still is odd.
I have been on several rides as part of a travel from here to other continents. I had never even imagined purchasing one. The cost is astronomical.
Hence the earlier comment, it was not a matter of monetary gain, but duty. My queen would have it no other way.
Sorry, it just puzzles me quite a bit.
If you have questions, I will answer them to the best of my capability.
Alright, so that's what brought you to Diamond City.
That's what brought them to Diamond City. Myself, I have a very different goal.
Oh. What is it that you are aiming for?
My queen commands that I understand the ways upon the surface. To know its people and its ways.
Surface? You mean you are from underground? Who would... I've never heard of such a thing.
Up until recently, the idea that ships that fly sounded absurd to me.
Such a strange world. And strange
Yes, your world
individuals.
is. Yes, your world is very strange. You have legends of and walk amongst giant kin and the remains of dragons here. Also fascinating. And the pale folk like Kinwin. An oddity unto itself. At first I thought he was sickly. But as I've come to travel with him, I know he is stout of body, if not heart. But I'm trying to learn the ways. I have observed strange things, markets where shouting, some form of shouting match to end up garnering the attention of those with coin. These locations where one can find board, not in one's house, but for travelers, involving a servant, a bed maiden who apparently has drank way too much. There are several of them here.
She
Oh.
is referring to the templed wench.
Oh.
Inns.
Oh, the taverns. Yes, there are a few in the city. They actually quite nice, most of them.
I've never seen one before.
But you
Custom
mentioned the tavern.
Before I came up here, such things did not exist. It was the right of the house owner to end up offering a bed and board to a traveler.
Oh.
And it was the right of the traveler to end up asking of such things. But for an entire space to be dedicated to such would imply a world where travel is common. Where I'm from, not so much. To do so would most likely have something implanted into your skull and carve out the fun bits, and then operate your remains as one would a a stringed puppet.
It's a rather ghastly image.
I am suspected much of what I end up much of my norms would appear very ghastly to you, as your world is strange to me.
Well,
For instance, I don't know on how you look up a word and not suddenly have a fear of falling into the abyss of tiny lights.
sometimes I wonder.
And then to try and soar closer to that abyss. In boats, no less. So
Sometimes it is the thrill with that fear of falling.
So which one of us sounds mad now?
Oh, believe me, there are many who have taken it upon themselves to create hobbies out of such things. Thrill seekers. Those who would quickly throw themselves out of something that flies and see if they can cast a spell fast enough so that they land on their feet. Wizards and such things.
I imagine it's a short-lived thrill.
Surprisingly, they're trained to do that. Why you would need such a thing, I have no idea. I choose to plant my feet firmly on the cold ground beneath me, and I like it that way myself.
Firm footing.
Firm footing. Never been much of a man who enjoyed towers and the like.
Then I believe we will end up joining you for dinner.
And he would, indulge you in all of the things and all the questions that you might have about himself and his family, and at the mention of his son, from time to time he would grow a little quiet, but would entertain you as guests in his household. And by the time you're finished with dinner, several hours have passed, and if there's anything else you want to ask or anything you want to say or anything like that there is left for you to say, you can. Otherwise, you'll be kindly escorted to the front entrance of the house and wished a good night. So, it is.
I'm
now.
giving everybody else the opportunity to end up doing so. I've been doing a lot of that.
Yes, you have.
I had nothing to add, so.
Is Kenwood going to jump in on this opportunity?
He's thinking about just Going to sleep.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else that you want to ask of Master McLean, he will wish you all a good night, and you will be shown outside, and you are free to go or do whatever it is you please for the rest of the night.
Alira will certainly take time to enjoy the night, as it is rare for her to end up being able to do so.
The darkness is a welcome relief on your eyes.
Truthfully.
The cool sort of winter night air. Maybe feeling a little closer to home. Being subterranean does get rather cold sometimes.
True. I think back to the conversations over dinner. The little things, the little idiosyncrasies amongst the noblesse of Diamond City. But unless anybody has anything to say to Alira, I think Alira at this point has an appointment to keep.
Vanya is just going to wish her a good night and head toward the inn.
Alright. Kinwin, what are you doing next?
What? You said it was like nighttime, right?
It is nighttime, and Alira seems to have something on her mind that she needs to attend to before she turns in for the night. Vanya is headed back towards the inn where you all are staying. So, what do you
Yeah,
wish
I'll
to
go
do?
back to the inn.
Okay. And so Vanya and Kinwin are headed back into town to go have their rest for the night. Where are you headed, Alira?
I promised a family that their dead son would be brought, would have his justice. And while not as illustrious as the vineyard owner, still duty demands. And so I'm off to tell them. After their son had been exhumed. And that's a short trip. But at this point, I sit in the graveyard, back to my watch. And as I watch, I keep an eye out for the groundskeeper who works the evenings. The one I spoke to originally.
You do eventually see him. Looks like he's tending to a grave, kind of dusting it off from debris and snow from the day. Seems to be just kind of giving it a little bit of attention. There isn't really much in the way of much in the way to this stone. It's just a simple name, date of birth, and date of death. But he is making sure that it doesn't get neglected. Everyone's important to someone. At least that's the way he likes to think about it.
A gentle hand, she says aloud.
Oh. Hi. kind of spooked me.
I apologize. It's a natural habit. Where I come from, silence is a constant, a method of survival. I'm not used to the hustle and bustle of your markets or your larger cities, in truth.
Can get pretty loud during the day, that's for sure, especially in the town square.
I came to pay my respects, and I wanted to thank you.
For what?
Tonight, I can only hope. Threads be praised that justice was served. Evidence of the killer had been found. Unfortunately, not before he took another life, or before she took another life.
She. I'm glad they caught her, then.
I'm uncertain. The ways of your land are very strange to me. To apprehend a prisoner, to deliver them unto your captain of the guard. And yet I wait with bated breath in the observation of what is to come. And yet, for some odd reason, I still feel remiss.
Remiss. Like you could have done more? Or you didn't do enough?
Maybe. It's so much more complicated here in Diamond City.
Diamond City's a odd place to live. But you get used to it.
Where I come from, if I were to have found that a member had, say, murdered a member of a great house, and I were to encounter them in my what would the word be? Hunting grounds.
Mm-hmm.
I would capture them, bind them, weaken them, and then feed off of them for perhaps days, delivering the remains after I've had my fill.
Sorry.
If only
What?
I come from a very strange place to you. But
Yeah.
I would leave the remains to the grieved party as show of allegiance, but also as warning to maintain what is mine.
Uh-huh.
Yet here you place them in cells to rot away, perhaps dispatch them later on, but
No, if she's guilty of murder, she'll be hanged.
and then what?
The families get what they want. That's justice.
I would think that the family would want their lost one back. How does hanging produce that?
Oh, well, I mean, you can't really get people back. So, I guess the way that, recompense and all of that sort of thing, kind of makes it more along the lines of, you did me wrong, so you be punished for it, sort of thing. I don't know. I'm not exactly a law philosopher or anything like that. I just follow the laws. But as to why, I mean, I guess it's kind of up to the people who are wronged, what they want to see happen. Whether it's prison time or whether it's just get rid of them entirely or something to that effect. I mean, if they're a murderer, isn't the world safer without them? I'm not sure what you're getting at.
She looks as though she has a realization. My ways are not yours, but you have taught me. And perhaps we can showcase a chance. Healing is a strange thing. At that point, and would I be correct in presuming would I be correct in presuming the dinner would have constituted a long or a short rest enough to get Wild Shape back?
Yeah.
She lowers her head to the Gravekeeper. I thank you. I thank you so much. And with that, as she takes her first steps, she starts to shift. Her legs split in two. She falls forward as her arm splits near center. Her skin tightens and expands into near chitin. She shrinks and molds until she is a giant spider that is going over delicate footsteps, leaving just the tiniest of holes, barely qualifying as footprints in the ground. As she starts to rush as she needs to go back. She needs to go back to the vineyard.
All right. You make it back to the vineyard. It is well past the well past midnight about this point. What do you intend to do?
I intend to end up incurring a debt. I knock on the door frantically. As soon as the servant ends up asking, what this is about, I express time is of the essence. And for let me see if I understand this correctly. I was asked if I could end up gaining asking anything. And I think I can. I would like to tell him to meet me at the mortuary. The master of the house to meet me, and his wife to meet me at the mortuary. And I need them to bring certain oils and urgents. It's going to be costly.
All right. And are you asking them to meet you in the morning or right now? Okay.
This is time sensitive.
Okay. The master of the house is woken. He quickly gets dressed and meets you. You explain the situation to him, and he, of course, explains that the lady of the house is still very much in mourning, but
That is why she must come.
And when they both come down and are ready to leave the house, he's dressed in the finer attire. She's dressed in sort of a mourning gown, where she's wearing all black and kind of she's got this veil over her face. Definitely from behind the veil you can tell that she has been crying for hours.
I prepare for her to do so again if I am correct.
And so they collect the carriage, which is the fastest way for getting back into the city, so that you all can go to that morgue. And when you arrive, there is a different individual who's in charge of everything, and this seems to be cleaning up different affairs. And the bodies are stored sort of in the respective alcoves and things like that. And he is very surprised to see you, as well as a pair of nobles, in the middle of the night at this particular morgue.
As soon as he ends up having it, I command him by the grace of the Queen to end up bringing the body forth. And with that, I also end up having the oils and urgents brought out as I start to lay them in place, praying I'm not too late.
As you start to get to work, the lady McLean starts shouting at you. What are you doing?
What I can. And with that, with the body here showcased, I place my hands upon him. The spores leaving my skin, starting to merge into the dead flesh. The oils spread, though to wipe away the wounds. a glow, and a small piece taking hold of the life that is growing within the corpse. Rotten decay brings life of its own. Decay feeds the nutrients of plants, fungi, and other such things. Perhaps the insects that would claim the body. But life is life. And while it can't always be cheated, perhaps it can be coerced. And it's at this point I would like to cast Reincarnate.
Ooh. Reincarnate. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, that is not a spell that I have used very often. Let's see.
You can touch a dead humanoid or a piece of a dead humanoid, provided the creature has been dead no longer than 10 days. The blood was fresh, so definitely been here less than that. The spell forms a new adult body for it, and then calls the soul to enter the body. If the target's soul isn't free or willing to do so, now I have no indication that that's not the case.
Okay.
The magic fashions a new body for the creature to inhabit, which likely causes the creature's race to change. A GM rolls a D100 and consults the following table to determine.
Okay.
There is one result I am hoping for.
Okay.
And that is 20 to 25. Or, pardon, 22 to 25.
Okay.
But
first of all, we are going to run through a skill check. This is going, since this is counting as a resurrection spell of a kind, this is going to be a skill check where you must present a case for the soul to return. For this soul to return, it will be a DC based on a number of my choosing. Any successful skill that you would perform to be able to convince the soul to return will lower the DC. So, and I will allow 3 characters to be able to roll a skill for that check. Now, normally this only includes player characters. NPCs generally are not included in this, but instead of the NPCs rolling their own skill check, I will allow you to roll your skill check at advantage. How are you going to convince Gorthok McLean to return to this reincarnated body?
your death has been avenged. And yet, your duties are not done. By the grace of your house, being the sole heir, you are here to end up bringing prosperity and glory to your family and to Diamond City. And in a time where noble leaders are required, where fighters are required, those who do not fear what is to come, but face it head on. As you've proven in your dying moments, that is needed more than ever. Your mother weeps, for she never had the opportunity to say goodbye. And your father shown such pride, knowing how you fought bravely, even in your end. And that bravery is still required for what is to come. That bravery is needed now. Not just as a noble, but as a leader of your people. And what is to come.
All right. For that statement, I will ask for a persuasion check. And you will have advantage because you have the family.
Well, that's an 18. Thankfully. First one was a 1. Like, oh dear God.
Okay. So, this is where I roll a die and determine whether the soul returns.
Could I help that with my religion skill?
You're
not there.
Sadly, you are not present. The
Need some spirit of the wolf spells.
the body stirs a little as the spores within begin to sort of do their work. As usually the work of the spores is to reanimate, not necessarily to revive, but it is definitely a very creative use of the spores. Your words hang heavy in the air for a moment. The body sort of starts to reform a bit. And you think you hear a breath. I'm going to roll a D100.
I'm hoping for one particular result because that would be partially epic and partially works so goddamn well on a personal level. But
That is a result of 4. They are reformed into a dragonborn. I'm sad you didn't get the result you wanted, but
that's all right. They're back. That's the important thing. The rest is just vanity.
The spores reform the body, and it takes a bit of time. And you're doing your best to coax the spores to work something different than they were intended. It takes about an hour for you to complete the spell. But when you do, a real breath is taken. The eyes shoot open as if they are just waking up from something, and the wounds that Garthak had sustained are closed, and he, in this sort of new form, kind of kind of looks at you like very, very scared like, and very much thinks in this moment that you're the person who attacked him. And he's kind of thrashing about and kind of flailing, and he's kind of looking at himself, and he's in complete and utter shock at the moment. But his father looks completely like aghast, like it's like, what in the world just happened just now? And reaches just in time to catch the lady of the house as she's fainting. What do you do?
Calm yourself, Kontak.
He's finding it very hard to speak at the moment. What happened?
Nothing important compared to what is to come.
I think that is where we're going to pick up next time.
Biggest bullshit move. And it paid off.
That is how you introduce a new spell.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Reincarnate is not one that I've used very often, but in an appropriate circumstance.
And it didn't cost me anything.
Nope.
Well, except for 1,000 gold worth of...
Nope. That came out of his father's bit. That's why I asked him to grab it.
Touché. Touché.
He got ahead of you on that one.
Hello, baby. I got a boy. He's right here, and he's so cute.
Baby.
He's a boy.
As opposed to mine, which was trying to chirp and nuzzle my microphone for a minute there, and then all of a sudden hissed and ran off.
Oh, baby.
Baby.
Well, there you have it, folks. I have successfully introduced you all to the resurrection mechanics of this particular game, which is very similar to how Critical Role does it, because I think that makes everything interesting. Makes it a little bit more of a heavy stakes when it comes to the different things that come up when it comes to the death of characters. In this case, an NPC who is going to have a time about things. But his work is...
I just figured that spell, like I could end up using Race Dead, but I didn't have that prepared beforehand. And let's be real here. Reincarnate is just so much more of a druidic flavored spell.
It kind of is, yeah. When you think about it.
Especially for a spore druid, the idea that life takes a new form,
that's a constant.
Rot, you end up...
That's a constant for a spore druid. Definitely makes sense that she would reincarnate rather than raise dead. So that's 100% thematic. Absolutely, love it. Love to see it. So, with that being said, with the three of you being our lovely cast members for today, we're going to move on to some experience for the lot of you. Woo! So, everybody gets their 5 for showing up.
I get the beast spooter.
You get to be spooter. Yes. And Galthok of the McLean family is no longer deceased. He is now a dragonborn. Alright, perfect. Well, there's that. And then, for the things that y'all did today... you did a lot of uncovering some things. So I'm going to give you another 3 for the things you uncovered and for successfully resurrecting a person.
Yay!
Yay!
Yay.
That's going to be an interesting thing for for them to go through as a different race from their parents. But that being said, now we move on to some roleplay prompts. So, who pushed our plot the furthest today?
Alira.
These votes are stolen.
What you think, Woden?
It was Alira's investigation. Oh.
Alright about that? In here.
Who do you think had the who moved the plot the furthest today, out of any plot today?
I'm gonna go with Ilaria.
Lyra, okay. Then Lyra, you get it. Fantastic, fantastic. Well, then, who had our best scene from today?
I'm torn.
Torn.
I'm torn between giving it to Alira for one of 2 scenes or taking it for myself for the fucking ding dong did.
I mean,
You know what? I'll vote for myself on.
well, for yourself on that one. Okay. What do you think, Woden? Who had the best scene from today?
Oh, it was fun.
Go with Vanya. Okay. And Derek, what do you think?
It's already Vanya. Like, there's no point in me into offering.
No, but I'd like to hear your opinion anyway.
Not gonna lie, I thought I clean swept this entire thing. Which
I was
partially-
about to let you do that.
partially, like, okay, you guys can take it anytime. By
Yep.
all means. Okay, if you want me to lead, I will lead.
Yep. Because there have been times that Derek and I have done solo sessions, and we're just going until we say, "Hey, we're tired. Let's go. We're done." But yeah, okay. Then Vanya, you get that one. Best line.
Alira's speech to convince him to come back.
I dig it.
I'll take it. I will vote that.
All right.
Sweet's really good, yeah.
All right. Oh, there it is. And we still have the audience votes coming in, so get your votes in, everybody, so that we can give the bonus experience to your favorite player from tonight. So, but y'all having fun?
Oh yeah.
Even though,
Oh, yeah?
even though you both kind of let Derek lead the whole way tonight.
I think Alira needed a good episode.
Oh, okay. Aw, we love
Ken
her.
was more of a background dude.
That and mild headache starting, so
Oh, sorry.
probably for the best.
Sorry to hear that. And Kinwin doesn't have to always take a back seat. He can take the front seat if he wants. But that is completely up to you.
So much interesting play and psychology and philosophy that goes into druids that I'm not gonna lie, there's a part of me that just
Somebody,
feels like I've underrated this
It was
entire
a
class.
somebody tied it up.
Dude, with all the subclasses and shit,
No, it has nothing to
play
do
like
with
a bunch of D&D games and never have to play any other class besides a druid, and like each one would be different.
Yeah, that's entirely true too. But yeah, I think it's really interesting to the dichotomy of druids and clerics kind of doing a little bit of the same things together, but doing them very differently. And I love the sort of role play opportunities that come up as a result of that. So Kinwin and Alira were tied at 2 apiece for the audience favorite today. So, are we gonna roll a high or low?
I'm gonna give it to Kinwin. I'm not. I'm not letting it go to die. Mechanically speaking, every time it should be a tie, you should high or low it. But I can't. I can't. I'm gonna let Kinwin have it.
Kinwin have it. There you go.
All right.
Conceded. All right. Well, there you have it. And that, my friends, will do it for us here at Coffee Cat Presents. If you're following on YouTube, thank you so much for already doing your part on checking us out, because we definitely, I want more engagement. I want everybody else to feel like they can watch the show and be entertained. Yeah, hope you guys have been enjoying. And if you're on YouTube and you're not following us on Twitch, be sure to follow at twitch.tv/coffeecatpresents, because that's where we do everything live on Saturdays and Wednesdays. And so, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to find another lovely person in our community to raid. And don't forget to join the Discord, because we love to put announcements up there here. And Raven is already has already claimed that.
Okay. To be fair, Herzon has 2 guests on his stream right now who we haven't seen in a long, long time.
Yep. So let's go give some old friends some love and attention, just like Felix wants, and give them a bunch of love, because we haven't seen Pete and Jeremy for quite some time. So let's go to Hero Zone and check them out. So, with that being said, let's say goodnight, everybody.
Night.
Night.